Thank you. This is a proclamation of the City of Richfield. Whereas Pride Month is a positive stance against discrimination and violence towards individuals who identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, and asexual, LGBTQIA, and celebrates sexual and gender identities. And whereas the City of Richfield City Council and staff identified celebrating diversity and being equitable as core values, recognizing that our diverse culture is one of our greatest strengths and assets. And whereas the month of June was chosen for Pride Month to commemorate the Stonewall riots, which occurred in June 1969, championed in part by two transgender women of color, Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera, and became a catalyst for the LGBTQIA movement. And whereas the LGBTQIA people have made and continue to make great and lasting contributions to the City of Richfield and the greater community, and whereas the United States has elected its first ever transgender member of Congress, Sarah McBride of Delaware, and whereas while the LGBTQIA civil rights movement has achieved great progress, many states are reversing that progress and rights have been lost. And whereas in the current political climate, the LGBTQIA community faces threats from forces whose goal is ending freedom for everyone, we affirm that an attack on one is an attack on all. And we stand proudly with this community, particularly our transgender neighbors and young people. And whereas the Richfield Human Rights Commission supported this proclamation at its May 6, 2025 meeting and recommended the City Council Richfield City Council do the same. Now, therefore, I, Mary Supple, Mayor of Richfield, on behalf of the Richfield City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of June 2025 as Pride Month in the City of Richfield and call on the people of Richfield to observe this month with appropriate programs, activities, and ceremonies, and continue to honor the contributions of LGBTQIA residents throughout the year. Proclaim this 27th day of May, 2025. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mary.
And would you like to say something?
I would like to say some things, yes. Thank you, Mayor. As pretty much everybody knows, this is a pretty rough time for LGBTQ rights and transgender rights in particular. So there are a couple of things that I'd like to read. One is from a major in the Marine Corps who's also a lawyer. And she wrote this, she's transgender, and she wrote this on the day that the Supreme Court decided to let the purge of transgender people from the military stand. She wrote, "Today effectively marks the end of my Marine Corps career. It may take a few weeks or maybe a few months at the outside, but today the domino fell that will set everything else fully in motion, leading inexorably to my departure from my active duty roles. I have devoted my entire life to serving my beloved nation. I am capable, I am proven. Very few people can outshoot me, outwork me, or outlitigate me. From the streets of Fallujah to military courtroom and everywhere in between. I am a decorated war fighter who believes in and defends democracy, freedom, and our Constitution. But none of that mattered today when the Supreme Court of the United States, of which I am a member of the bar, decided without rationale or explanation that President Trump's ban on transgender service members can go into effect. Despite precisely zero compelling evidence, despite zero negative impact on good order and discipline, despite thousands of us serving our nation bravely, capably, and honorably, both at home and abroad. Today was a huge loss for me and my fellow trans service members, but it was a bigger loss for our nation, the rule of law, and our democracy. Today the sun may be setting on my time in uniform, but tomorrow the battle for the soul of our nation continues from new fighting positions. And I also would like to read a post that was on Facebook from a group of parents of transgender youth. As parents of LGBTQ plus kids, Pride season hits differently this year. Behind the joy, many of us are scared for our kids. Scared that they'll lose rights. Scared that they're being erased. This year, Pride isn't just a celebration. It's a protest, a plea, a promise. Show up, not just for the parade, but for the purpose. Not just to wave a flag, but to raise your voice. Because being an ally isn't passive. It's powerful. And our kids need you more than ever. I'd also like to recognize that we have an openly gay city council member in Sean Oleary. And Minnesota recently elected our first transgender representative in the Minnesota House, Leah Finke. And Richfield in general has been ahead of the curve when it comes to LGBTQ rights, when it came to marriage equality, and when it comes to treating transgender students with compassion and respect. And lastly, one more thing that it also came from Facebook. Pride Month starts in 3 days. Pride isn't brought to you by T-Mobile or Absolute Vodka. It was brought to you by drag queens and trans women throwing bricks, by lesbians and queer women taking care of gay men dying of AIDS in the face of an intentional government neglect. Thanks for listening to me, and love trans kids. Thank you.
I want to share a couple of comments on Pride Month. We've sort of moved away from doing the comments in a row after the resolutions and the recognitions, and that's fine. But this is special to me, and I did just want to say a couple of things. And first was thank you to the Human Rights Commission, and I'll send them the video link later since they're no longer here. But I had some feedback and some concerns about the resolution. They took that to heart, and they thought about it really carefully, and I think addressed both the historical concern that I had while also making it really relevant to this moment, and I thought that was really, really helpful. And just to think sort of where we're at and how difficult this moment is of the current administration and the current situation. And I was sort of thinking about this, in some ways it feels like gay rights and queer rights is like 2 steps forward, 1 step backward. But when you say it like that, it sounds so callous, because it's like it is 2 steps forward for the community in an abstract sense, and then 1 step backward that's entirely on one part of the community, which is trans people. It's tough to see that step backward, and it's tough to see the absolute malice that comes with it. It is not just people having disagreements or different values or different religious backgrounds. It is being mean. It is being schoolyard bully mean. And it inflames everything. It inflames so much. So I'm grateful to the Richfield community, because I have not felt that in Richfield. But I feel bad for the members of our community, the members of our country who are being very deliberately targeted, used as political pawns to make a point and to be mean and basically just to piss off the other team. It's upsetting. The one comfort I think I have in all of this is public opinion has changed. Legal realities have changed. In the time since I moved to Richfield, gay marriage was not legal in most of the country, including in Minnesota. That was the fall that we rejected the amendment to put in our state constitution a ban on gay marriage, and that was part of that turn to change that and to allow gay marriage throughout the country, eventually culminating in the Supreme Court decision of that case. But what's important to me about it is not just that happened and that we have this legal protection and later got the protections related to employment, but that public opinion actually really changed. And even in this era of this nastiness, the public opinion on those issues has not really reversed. And so it's tough, it's immoral to see the highest levels of leaders of our country acting like bullies and harassing our residents and other residents. But I think it's a dying gasp of this kind of discrimination. It was trying to use this last little bit of malice and bias that people have to split us apart. I'm ready for this to be over. I'm ready for us to move past this horrible moment, but I do want us to think that this is one really mean blip on an arc of history that is moving towards justice. So, well, thank you.